Quick disclaimer before the video starts, please do not go to or harass any of the people from this video or any of the people who replied to my Twitter post. Being stupid on the internet is practically the national pastime, and I really don't feel like dragging people. Most of these are just random people who have commented, they have no followers, no audience. Not to mention, I'm not really looking to make drama about this, I'm just looking to laugh at what is there. Leave the people alone. Welcome back to Fair's Fair, and today we have a doozy of a wonderful thing for you, because I'm actually going to be doing something completely unscripted. No script, no pre-writing, and lots of cut lines, because I'm gonna fuck up what I'm saying 1,000 times. This is why I'm not a streamer. But today I'm going to be reacting to an article that actually included my tweet from a while ago and really explains why the tweet kind of blew up with the entire crowd seeming to get the wrong idea of what I was saying. It turns out it's because a wonderful article written by Thomas Hitchin, written by Thomas the Tank Engine, for all I fucking know, for all his reading comprehension. Or at the very least, it was posted by him. And the major point is that this man has completely misrepresented my tweet, so I figured we'd go over that. The first thing we're going to do is go over my actual tweet, because, you know, context matters. I know, it's crazy. Nuts idea. I stated, Andor has a new story of characters not related to the OT. In such a massive universe, there's lots of fun ways to tell a good story. But that is an AK-47 prop. That could be a sign of corner cutting, and for it to be in the trailer? Now, I mentioned corner cutting briefly in my Stray review. It is not always a bad thing, but it's a little bit weird that the corner cut of them just having an AK prop would be in the trailer. I do understand that this back part right here does seem to be pretty heavily modified, but this is still very clearly an AK from this part, or at least a very similar make of gun. It is very clearly a mechanical gun. The curved magazine, that is something done for firearms because the bullets feed better when they're in a curved magazine, and the shape of the shell make that just more ergonomic. If this was a blaster, there would be no reason to curve it. In fact, there'd be no reason for it to have such an annoying shape in the first place. I won't be showing any of those particular replies, but at least one person mentioned the almost AR-15 design of some of the things in Rogue One. But those had very short, very boxy magazines that did not curve. Why? Because it looked more like a battery pack, and that's what they wanted it to look like. There was also a whole bunch of other junk bondoed onto it. I recognize that this back piece is not standard. I also recognize that the front sight seems a tad useless, and there are no back sights, so whoever this is clearly not concerned with hitting what he's aiming at since he can't fucking aim because there's no goddamn sights. But I continue in this tweet, but a separate story could give them distance from the sequel trilogy. Let's hope this is more than additional nails for the coffin. Hopeful, but understanding the kind of problems it could be. And you can see I have the option to add another tweet, which means this was posted with the original tweet on this date. This was not added later, and they had to find it. A full 2 days later, because a lot of people seem to be showing up, and I did not yet know why, I decided to clarify. The whole first half of this tweet is about the potential the show has. You've put too much weight in a comment of mild concern over one prop. It's a prop. No one cares beyond the fact that it looks a bit lazy. It's not always a microcosm. I've never seen so many people actively want me to be upset over a prop. It's just an observation in a tweet. You came to me. And they very much did. These people came out of nowhere, absolutely certain that that one part right here, this latter half of the tweet, completely supersedes this and this part. So this one part in the middle supersedes both things on either end, at least according to them. But before we get into the actual article, let's look at the quote retweets, of which I could only find like one. This person said, Star Wars fans try not to get mad at something minuscule challenge. Weird, considering you got mad about only this one tiny line of my tweet. A simple reply of, reading comprehension beyond what you want to be mad about challenge. I also agree in these replies that if it's the official intro of slug throwers in the universe, then it's fine. But you didn't read those replies, did you? Or anything beyond the first thing you saw. The irony. This person did not respond. Now on to the actual replies, where I have got some golden ones, both from when I originally posted this and from more modern ones. This nice gentleman says it's in the tradition of the original movie where they used Sterling SMGs with added scopes. Now, let's take a quick look at that. These are Sterling SMGs. I'd like to point some things out here. First of all, none of these really look like those ones. But unfortunately, he's also kind of posted his own proof that he's wrong, because you've actually got some modifications here that obfuscate what the actual weapon is. First of all, there doesn't appear to be any kind of magazine that would denote an actual firearm. Secondly, there's these weird fins on it, which I could not find in any of the pictures of the Sterlings. The only times that I see these designs on the outside here are when we're also talking about Star Wars blasters. There's also this weird bit here, these bits here, the scope as he mentioned, and very importantly, it's a considerably less known design than something like the AK-47, which is so prevalent. You look at this and you could reasonably not know what it is. You look at this and your instant thought is, that's the AK. I would consider the firearm choices for the Tomorrow War. They are very much not the right kind of weapon for the enemy they're fighting, but the prop master didn't know that, I guess. But I won't hold that against the movie because it's an incredibly LARPy-looking gun, but most people aren't going to notice that. They wouldn't recognize it on sight. Though he is correct, they do use normal guns, just with other stuff bondoed onto them. I couldn't find the exact reply, but one person compared this to Anakin's bedroom, where he had a bunch of silver spray-painted lawn toys in the background of his room. That's lazy prop design too. The least they could have done was cut some bits off of them to make them look like they might be something from there. At the very least, they could have done anything to them that wasn't just pull them out of the package and spray paint them fresh out of Walmart. And that's pretty well reflected in the Star Wars prequels. Another reply? Jesus H. Christ, stop the wokeness. I think this man is lost. I don't think he knows what he's replying to. I have no idea what he's addressing or talking about. This could be a commentary on Star Wars as a whole, but I found this to be a really convenient place to mention that this wasn't a political thing. None of you know my politics. Like, I haven't really talked about politics, and I never intend to, because it's not really important to what I'm talking about. Just because I disagree with the politics being espoused within a show does not necessarily mean that it was espoused wrong or poorly. I don't agree with the idea that living too long takes away part of what makes you human, but that wasn't my problem with Altered Carbon's theme. My problem with that part of Altered Carbon was that it was incredibly ham-handed and not supported by the narrative they told. So yeah, this felt just a tad bit off. But I guess thanks for the interaction. This man was great because he commented on a lot of stuff and was just absolutely spitting bile right out the start. It was great. Why is this a problem? It's a time-tested design. It is a time-tested design for a gun. And by time-tested, I mean that it is reliable and cheap. In a world where blasters are available to even the poorest of people in the poorest of places, why on earth would you ever resort to a physical weapon with considerably less ammo capacity? Being reliable does not mean it is the best available. And since everyone and their dead cousin in the Star Wars universe has a blaster, why on earth would you use such a remarkably less efficient weapon? Unless you had a specific reason to do so, like the Mandalorians did, but we'll get to that. Don't worry though, we will be seeing more of this man. He came in to fight. Next tweet, so you're going to get all dramatic because they're including a real-world weapon as a blaster like they've been doing since 1977. Again, I just noticed a prop. A bunch of other people brought the drama. If it's just a prop they grabbed quick, it doesn't affect the story at all. If it's because they don't care, then the story will reflect it. No one knows yet, and I never claimed to. A lot of people were making similar questions about why I'm getting so focused on the gun. I'm not. I just noticed a prop. I did get some good responses. Along similar lines, this guy said about the same thing, and I mentioned that even in the potential of the series, they could have this guy really want to fight against Darth Vader. I haven't seen the series yet, I'm sure I'll comment on it when I do, but if he was gunning for Darth Vader, it would make sense why he would have one handy. And he doesn't want Vader in it, but that's the great part. You don't actually have to have Vader in a show to have a character motivated by Darth Vader. In fact, the fact that he's going for a character that we know he's not going to reach could be a considerable point of contention for his character, as he has to choose priorities based on what he can do rather than what he wants to do. So again, decent idea. This guy says it's just a prop gun, you are just making a big deal out of it. I made one on the fence tweet, Then everyone else showed up. Absolute lie, I never made a big deal of it, everyone else made a big deal of part of it. Several people like this dude came in to complain saying that I'm a crying fanboy. First of all, I'm not a fanboy of Star Wars. I like the original, and to be honest, I like the prequels. Like, unironically. I know they're not great movies, but I still enjoy them. And here we have a really good string. This guy saying they used original stuff like Han Solo's blaster, which was a German pistol with a rifle scope and a modification of the barrel. Nothing new. This sparked a whole problem. First of all, there's this incredible genius who says it's a fake controversy for clickbait. It's not a controversy for me, it's a concern that they stapled the name of a franchise over a low-effort show to maximize profit, like the Halo show did. I do sincerely hope it isn't. Like an incredibly immature person, he says, "Hot take, lol," yawning emoji. Oh dear fucking lord, it says writer. This man writes. Any writer who looked at the Halo show or the sequel trilogy as anything other than a massive red flag for those franchises is not a writer who has made good things. But back to this one, this sparked quite a little debate. This is where I'm originally clarifying my point. It's still very clearly an AK. The Mauser had more effort put in with less budget. The show could be good, but it's a red flag. The idea of a separate story involving Central Empire worlds has a lot of potential. Han's blaster is still very clearly a Mauser C96 with a scope and different barrel. A scope could have looked great on the AK blasters too. It is a very different barrel that almost seems to have components attached to it. And as a smaller gun, the modifications go a long way. Believe it or not, a little bit of noise in the props can actually be a good thing. And I'd like to point this out, I'm wrong here. Added underneath the scope, I was actually incorrect. The bit I was referring to added under the scope is actually part of the original gun that you just can't see from this picture. I made a mistake and I am more than willing to admit that. But that doesn't necessarily negate all of the other modifications that are on here. And one of the most recognizable parts of a Mauser broom handle is the handle itself, which 9 times out of 10 typically has a hand on it, and I don't know how unique a handle can become. Also, unlike when Star Wars was produced, we have 3D printers now. This is my point. This is Disney with Disney money. 3D printers. There's no excuse for something that even looks vaguely like a gun. This guy insisted it is modified. No safety lever, different front sights, no rear iron sights. Fake Star Wars dust cover that looks like the top rear bolt of an action rifle and a fake mag. Okay, the magazine's still a problem. I mean, why couldn't that be a real magazine? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Why could that not be a real magazine? Like, just because it's got little ribs on it? I've seen magazines like that. What do you mean fake? And again, this was such a small part of my tweet. It was the single concern among a tweet of praise. Fast forwarding a bit, we have this nice young man who came in over a month past the original posting with this incredible take. And admittedly, I was getting a tad bit snide at this point, but seriously, you thought no one else had addressed this on a tweet months old? And I clarify that he missed the rest of the tweet, and dare I say, the point. He immediately ignores that he missed the rest of the tweet. Like, he replied to my second reply, but he completely ignored it. He doesn't mention it at all. The fact that it was a majorly positive tweet is completely lost on this man. He cannot let that be acknowledged. Instead, he brought up something else that was also, addressed. He also went on to claim I was part of a toxic fandom, while completely ignoring the rest of the tweet and the context, because if he actually acknowledged any of that, he'd lose his entire position because it is based entirely on the idea that I care a lot more about this prop than I actually do. Oh hey, remember this guy? Claiming that the Mauser has 2 modifications, a scope, and a flash suppressor. The AK has at least 3 from what I can tell in this picture of paused footage. Now, I know what you're thinking, what are the 3 modifications to the AK? Well, I'd wonder that too, because he never actually pointed them out, circled them, or even said what they were. He just said that I could name at least 3. He never went into more detail, and he never actually made a point about that. I, on the other hand, actually having a tenable position, decided to clarify. I clearly marked these things out. The weird bump, as I explained earlier, is not actually a flaw, that's part of the gun, that was my mistake, I am terribly sorry about that. But even just counting the scope as one thing, there's still this bit here, and these 2 are clearly not part of the flash suppressor. I never saw a flash suppressor that had these 2 parts here. This part is part of a flash suppressor, but these two parts are completely alien to this gun as far as I can tell. So I'm counting at least 1, 2, 3, 4. Even in the most generous form, you're talking at least 4 modifications. This man continues saying that he did miss the screw threads things, anything else is mounted hardware for the scope and flash suppressor, except for the bump, which he is correct is part of the actual gun. My mistake. Again, I made one mistake. I guess that means my entire argument can be thrown out. And then he proceeded to circle the entire thing as a flash suppressor. It's not. These two parts are not part of any flash suppressor I saw, other than post-Star Wars ones that are designed to look like Han's blaster. But this was good enough for him, he didn't bother clarifying on any of his points, and never actually went into the close-up clear pic of an AK and it'll be more than 3. I'm happy if you could point those out. He says that he can find 3, but he absolutely refused to name even one of them, despite the fact that I could name some of them. At first glance, I thought his profile picture was a clown, and I'm honestly starting to think that maybe it should be. This guy says that the AK in the original post looks more modified than Hans Luger that you linked. What? In what way? Justify that statement. That is such a short statement that you give nothing for. Best for last, this guy. You're an idiot. Period. Okay, very good. I hope he justifies that. Spouting off without thinking. Period. I hope you justify that as well. There is a reason why the AK is the most widely used gun by humans, and any human civilization would be likely to arrive at similar form factors. Just stop. What the fuck is that argument? A society based around energy weapons would need them. Why? Not that you read beyond the first post, but I did say that if it's our intro to slug throwers, then it's fine. He never got back to me. In fact, he said rather mean things for someone who didn't feel like he needed to come back and justify any of them. But now that we've seen the greatest hits of that particular post, let's go on to the actual article that decided to quote it and send all those people there in the first place. Fans confused furious over AK-47 featured in latest Star Wars trailer. And while the series so far has been praised for its length, time period, casting, and real-world look, the latest trailer has drawn immense criticism over its inclusion of what seems to be an AK-47 assault rifle. Oh, hey, time period and casting. That's exactly something that I praised it for. In fact, this seems to be on the exact same page. I'm sure he used my tweet as an example of someone on his side, considering, from my tweet, you could reasonably assume that I am. Skipping over the fluff explaining what the show is, they say, while excitement is high for the follow-up to Disney's Obi-Wan Kenobi, and to be honest, after seeing Obi-Wan Kenobi, I'm not excited for anything in Star Wars anymore. The latest trailer has sparked furor, with many fans noticing an unknown character brandishing a weapon very similar to the real-world's AK-47 assault rifle. He quotes me, but he doesn't specify that I seem to agree with literally everything he said up until this point. In fact, he doesn't contextualize my tweet at all, nor does he include any of the things posted alongside it. He makes this statement as though this is the only thing I said on the topic, but again, it's a thread. I posted 2 things on the same day, meaning they are both part of the same context, which he conveniently left the end part out of. But even still, I still have this first part, so it's not entirely his fault. A whole bunch of other people had to misinterpret this as well in order for me to get this kind of response. This guy says, the Andor trailer looks good, but I have one quibble. They aren't even trying to make blasters look unique anymore. This literally looks like an AK-47 with a few minor changes. It's a dumb complaint, I know, but still I find it kind of funny. Again, it's a dumb complaint. This guy is fully aware that it's a tiny thing, and he finds it kind of funny. This is not furor. This is not outrage. This is not anger. Some things will look like stuff on Earth, sure, but that design clearly just being AK-47 is just lazy. Hell, the guy in the front looks like he's wearing a jacket and hoodie. These aren't Star Wars designs. That could almost be considered an angry tweet. Congratulations, you found at least one with 6 likes. And this one with 10 likes. This guy says that they were usually based on various weapons, so it's funny that the Andor prop master looked at an AK-47 and said, no notes. That's an incredibly on-the-fence tweet. That's like not even positive or negative, he just thinks it's funny. 20 likes. These are just a snippet of the backlash online regarding the inclusion of this lifelike prop. Despite the galaxy far, far away offering commentary on the real world, and even actress Fiona Shaw has said that Andor is a take on the Trumpian world. The appearance of an automatic rifle in science fiction space opera franchise is raising eyebrows across the board. Whoa! This is a snippet of the backlash? Where's the rest? Where's the popular shit? Mine is the most liked at 65. This isn't even viral. These were the best you could get to be a snippet of your backlash? Shouldn't a snippet be entirely composed of things that are exactly what you're looking for? Like, it's not hard to find people hating on something on the internet. And the best you could find was one actual person who seems to dislike it, and a bunch of people who just think it's either funny or a small part. The fact that you went online and you couldn't even find 5 different tweets of people actually viscerally mad tells me that either you're shitty at researching something, or there isn't backlash. And I'm willing to bet the first one is true, because there's always backlash for everything. If you cured cancer tomorrow, then someone would be insisting you're fucking with God's design. And they'd be stupid, by the way. But then you go on, commentary on the real world. Commentary on the real world doesn't mean you have to have things from the real world to make the commentary. Commentary is just that. It is commentary on. Not, I am showing you the thing from. In order for you to have a commentary on something, you do not have to have props from it. And I won't even address a take on the Trumpian world, because that, again, is a matter of commentary and has nothing to do with the fucking prop you use. That's a writing thing. And I'll be totally honest, given how ham-handed you have addressed the real world or commentary in previous Star Wars properties, I think maybe you should step back and not try to do it, since you don't know how to do fucking commentary in a story. Fans will get the real story, or maybe they will breeze past its context when it comes out. And unless they give it context, it's just gonna be a lazy prop, as I said. Hey, Inside the Magic, how much did you pay for this? I could do better. Watch this. 90% of Twitter is actually all the Wheatley AI core from Portal. And that is why Twitter is the way it is, and why the average person on Twitter generates terrible ideas and thoughts. Because they were designed to do so. See, that took me like, what, 10 seconds? I wouldn't care if you had represented me perfectly. Maybe I would have actually given it a shout out if you had represented me well. But instead you lumped me with other people and referred to it as Furor and Furious Over, neither of which were displayed by any of your evidence. You just claimed they were true and assigned that motivation to everyone that you referenced. I know this is pretty low-effort content, just making fun of an incredibly terrible article, but I feel like I was owed it given the amount of people who came in with the reading comprehension of a toddler. They read exactly 1/3 of the original thread and decided they had all the information they would ever need. Frankly, I hope that some of the people who came to my post learned that that wasn't what I meant and walked away with a better understanding of who I was. Also, I gained like almost 10 followers because of this. So funny enough, they've actually helped me a little by misrepresenting me. I don't think that's what they were trying to do, but thank you. And also, fuck you. Let me know what you guys think. Could you find some outrage out there on the internet? I feel like you could have if you actually put effort in. I really want to know what they were paid for this. But let me know down in the comments, did you find this at least an entertaining read? Because I sure as hell had a few entertaining reads throughout the replies, and some meaningful discussions, and some not so meaningful ones. But go down to the comments, let me know what you thought about all of this, let me know what you might want to see in the future of the channel, and be sure to like, comment, share, blah 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 blah, because the YouTube algorithm is my god, and there is no not following their religion because it is mandated by existence itself on their platform. For those of you who aren't following me on Twitter, Bufffair has taken over the Twitter account, so he's in charge of that. But if you think that their representation of me was absolutely fine, and you want to further go on about how I am stupid and should shut up, and I haven't written my own story as far as you know, and well, I mean, you are the god of the universe, so of course you would know more than me about anything, especially when it pertains to me, then you too can go down to the comments and be entertainingly angry.